Welcome to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Be warned, the discussions in this podcast will contain detailed spoilers. For spoiler-free reviews of newly released films, please check out our channel Reviews Without Remorse on YouTube and VidMe. Enter at your own risk and enjoy the show.
And welcome to the podcast where the host mothers have completely different names. My name is David, and I'm the son of Laura. And on the other microphone, the son of Karen, my man Joe.
Probably our only two Patreon supporters too.
This is episode 41, and in this show, we will discuss Looky Looky, a new Infinity War trailer is out. Let's get ready to discuss! And Joe finally had a chance to watch Stranger Things 2, and we'll go through a general overview, pending a much larger review later. And lastly, because really, he can be so sweet when he's not beating me, we review Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Extended Edition, Tongue-Tied Edition.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people.
To see if we could become something more.
So when they needed us, we could fight the battles
that they never could.
Let's just pause for a second before we get into the meat of this, and I just want to send a little memo to all the Hollywood execs out there in the world who are probably watching this, who watched this trailer today and are probably scratching their heads, okay? This is an example of world building done correctly, where you don't have to say a heck of a lot in a trailer because in 10 years you've built up to this point and the trailer speaks for itself. Yeah. This is world building. DC, Universal, this is how you world build. Joe, I'm just going to say it. This was 2 minutes and 23 seconds better than the entire 2 freaking hours of Justice League.
I could not agree more, and I tell you, and I almost feel like it's hard to even talk about this in a vacuum, and I wish I could. The word that kept going through my mind throughout the entire trailer was earned. I feel like we throw that word around a lot, but that's exactly what kept coming to my mind as I'm watching. This whole thing is completely earned. I mean, it opens up with the voiceover, with the original, it's Samuel Jackson. There was an idea that we were going to put a team together, and then all the other people start doing the voiceover. All the other major players start coming in, and it's like, and it's reminding you that this was a 10-year plus process to get to where we are now. This was a decade-long adventure in experiment in what you can do with, like you said, with world building, with using a large cast of characters that, I mean, it's the fact, I mean, did you ever think we'd see the day? I mean, we're looking on the screen, looking at all these characters that we know. I mean, it really is now sort of matching the experience that you have reading comic books. Because if you're a comic book reader, you've gotten to know these characters, right? When you read a comic, when there's like a team up or whatever, you know this character, and you know that character, and you know how they are going to interact, and yada, yada, yada. You know their personalities and their flaws. And now we've gotten to the point with this Marvel Cinematic Universe that it's the same feeling, that we know all of these characters now. We know all of them. So when they team up and cross over, and it's exciting because we know them now.
Yes. Some of them didn't even have to say anything. Just like the brief shots of there's Doctor Strange and there's Wong. And it's like, yep, know what that's about. Thor at the end of the trailer. Who the hell are you guys? It just turns around to point to them and Mantis gives that cute little wave.
Right.
All that. Subtle things. None of that would have made sense without any of the stuff that built before. It would have just been, I don't know, character looking porn. Like this was a trailer that if they did Iron Man and Cap and Thor, and this was the trailer that followed up those 3 movies, we'd be looking at this like, what is this?
Yeah.
I don't get what is it? Why is this important? Why should this mean something to me? It would have felt more like this was a trailer for comic book fans, but this wasn't. This was absolutely a trailer for the movie fans, you know, with little bits and pieces of everything thrown in there. They establish who they immediately establish who Thanos is. They immediately establish that this is a guy you don't trifle with. This man with no armor, because he used his Infinity Gauntlet fisted. With no armor, he punched Tony down and put Spider-Man into a freaking chokehold.
Yeah. And I'll tell you too, what a great villain. I mean, like I said, I don't mean to compare. But
you can't help it.
You can't help it. I mean, like when you look at this Thanos stepping into the frame versus that kind of gobbledygook CGI monster we had in the other one. It's amazing. I mean, he looks fantastic. The dialogue is great. I love his presence is awesome. I mean, the whole thing is just it's a dream come true. I mean, I hate to sound so gushy, but I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, it really is. You know, again, we grew up on the Incredible Hulk TV series. As good as it was, that was the best you'd ever get. You know.
Yeah.
The Wonder Woman TV show was the best you'd ever get, you know, and then when you started to get little movies here and there was only so much they could do, you know, there was only so much that they could really do given the limited technology, and even that, all the complications of studios and you know, copyrights and all this other stuff and who owns what. You never thought you'd see this happen. You really never thought you'd see this happen. And the way they're doing it with such quality, it's just, you really can't ask for more.
There's love. Yeah, there's love. There's love on every single shot. The people that are making it are so obviously fans of the characters, of the actors, of the whole thing. They believe in it. They're not embarrassed by it. I mean, for God's sakes, Thanos is like a 9-foot tall purple guy with like little, you know, squiggly things on his face. It's the most ridiculous sounding to think of. When he walks out of that space portal and just kind of looks around and he gets that little like half grin on his face, like, it's like, oh God, this guy's.
It just works. And again, it works. First of all, it works because you have a great actor playing him, and they did him perfectly well. I mean, I'm just really impressed with what they've done with it.
Oh God, his quote, you know, every single one of the quotes, you know, run from it, high test, and talking about how they're gonna, you know, everybody has to go through the pain, no matter how righteous you are. I mean, what brilliant freaking dialogue is that? Because that's what he has to be. This movie literally has to be the Avengers defeated. It's the only way movie, I think.
Probably, yeah. Like this would be the Empire Strikes Back of the. I would say that's probably true. And you do know. I mean, the way they're talking, this film is going to have, unlike something like Ragnarok, which is primarily there for fun and for entertainment, which is great. This one is going to have some stakes. You know, there's gonna be some heavy moments in this, I think. So it's shaping up to be pretty serious. So
I am 90% sure that this is the last we see Tony Stark. 90% sure.
Possibly. I've heard other theories. I won't even touch it, but you could be right. And it's an Ellie, by the way. I've also heard. I mean, I know this is gonna be. They said by the time we get to Infinity Wars Part 2, that's kind of the end of, I guess, the Phase 4.
I actually know. I think it's the start of. This is still Phase 3.
So the second Infinity Wars will still be the end of Phase 3.
I think so. I'm gonna have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that they said that. Because Feige's thing is like when Phase 4 comes around, the entire look, which makes sense. Probably going to lose a lot of that.
Sure, yeah, and he's I did hear, but however, he did also say that he's got something like that is not the end of the cinematic universe. He's still got something like 20 films on deck.
Yep. No. God, what did the world do to deserve Kevin Feige?
Right?
These are not nightmares. It's happening. And it all leads back to here.
So, you finally saw it.
Yes, finally saw it. Finally got home. My wonderful girlfriend Mary. It was the only thing I begged her for. I said, "Do not watch season 2 without me." And we together this past weekend we binge watched it, and I am ready to talk about it.
All I want for Christmas is to watch Stranger Things 2 with you. That's kind of romantic.
Mm-hmm. So I'll say this. Like I said, I believe we are going to dedicate a full episode to this season soon. Since we did season 1 as an episode, we're going to do season 2. Preliminary thoughts. I said when we finished up the last episode about season 1, I said, you know what? I don't need season 2 to be bigger or better. I just want more. I just want more of what I got this time around. It was that good, and I'm not hyping myself up for more. I just want more of the same. I think that's kind of what I got. I felt like I got more of what I liked about the first one. It did seem like there were more characters. The situation was different. I think a lot of people thought that they did go bigger and better. Almost like I heard the comparison from Alien to Aliens, and I think that is an accurate assessment. But still, overall, I think the overall effect was it was another solid season with solid characters taking the next logical steps forward, and I'll leave it at that. It was very good. What about you?
Dude, I love this season. It had, out of 8 episodes, it had really only 1 clunker episodes, in my opinion. Well, 9 episodes, excuse me.
Yeah, and there you go, but go ahead.
1 episode was a clunker, and even as a clunker, it was still a necessary episode as a progression for the character of Eleven, so I'm not going to complain too much about it, but it was the weakest episode of the season, in my personal opinion. And that's the one where she goes to Chicago to find her sister.
Right, yeah. I appreciated the fact that it was actually 9 episodes this season versus 8 episodes last season. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you noticed that, but yeah, this season was 9 episodes, probably because of the inclusion of that other, what you call it, a clunker. I didn't mind it too much. I did feel, I mean, it's a clunker because, frankly, it just doesn't feel like Stranger Things. It just felt like they just went off for 1 episode to explore new territory and, roll the dice. I mean, I've heard people say that this was probably what you're really watching is a pilot episode for a possible offshoot for new show. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, yes or no. It definitely felt that way. It definitely seemed eager to give us new characters and to introduce each one. This one was the big guy with the heart of gold, and this one was that. And, it was okay. I didn't mind it. It did feel like it doesn't compare with the rest of the show because, frankly, it's not Stranger Things. This, like I said, this felt like a pilot for something else. And it was weird because if they do take that and start a new show with it is going to feel different because it doesn't feel like Stranger Things. The gifts that the girl had, frankly, the whole thing sort of felt like an X-Men offshoot as opposed to a Stranger Things offshoot. She's got some powers, and with the powers, she's going to go off and get into trouble. And I thought it was strange because, again, Eleven's powers were specifically geared to have her be able to travel interdimensionally across the ocean to Russia or wherever to do spying, essentially. Mm-hmm. This girl's gifts seemed decidedly different. I mean, it seemed like it was almost like she's a mutant, and a mutant has other powers. I'm saying to myself, if the goal was to get 11 to do these specific set of tasks, why would you have another girl who ended up with completely different tasks that don't really apply to what 11 was built to do? So I thought that was weird. And it was a little cliche, and of course you had the punk rocker with the mohawk, and okay, it was fine. And again, I liked the fact that there was 9 episodes in the season because it was almost like they were being considerate enough to give you a full season plus 1. If you like it, great. Right. If you don't like it, what's the difference anyway? So yeah, it didn't detract from my overall feeling about this.
Oh no, it didn't detract my overall feeling either. Even with it, it had wonderful twists, amazing curves. I gotta tell you, from the moment I saw him, the first thing I thought was that Sean Astin, he's gonna have to be a bad guy, and god darn it, the guy wound up breaking my god darn heart.
Yeah, he ended up being a good one, and it was funny because it did throw me a curve because the one episode when he said, I turned around and said, get lost or whatever, and the nightmares went away. Well, sure enough, it doesn't work so well for Will, does it?
No.
So I was starting to wonder if maybe somebody was feeding him some bad information or some bad ideas. But no, he was a good guy with a heart of gold, and
he just was out of his depth with that advice. He had no idea. That's all.
Sure, of course. And I by the way, the gym membership starts tomorrow because my 6-year-old niece told me Uncle Joe looks just like Bob.
Oh, no!
Thank you for that one. Yeah, it looks like Uncle Joe's going to start doing some sit-ups and...
You know what? I don't feel so bad about when people say I look like Ed Harris. Okay, I'm good.
There you go.
I'll take the Man in Black any day of the week.
There you go.
An excellent cast across the board. Everybody was firing on all cylinders.
You're gonna go to war. That son of a bitch brought the war to us.
Fearing that the actions of Superman are left unchecked, Batman takes on the Man of Steel while the world wrestles with what kind of a hero it really needs. Written by Chris Terrio and David S. Goyer, directed by Zack Snyder. Ladies and gentlemen, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Extended Edition.
All right, I would like to start off with this comment, and this is going to sound almost hysterical. Dave and I, technically, even though it feels like we've spent the better half of a year talking about this film in particular, right? Technically, we have not really sat and had the conversation about this film. Because I remember Dave and I went a couple years, we sort of lost track of each other, got back in touch, and as we're talking, we were like, all of a sudden we were like, podcast, movie show. So there was a lot that we hadn't even caught up on. And I know that this was, I knew we were both chomping at the bit to have the conversation about this film. Because it was still brand new, still very fresh, whatever. And even the very first episode we did, I remember saying that we specifically said we're not going to talk about it. We'll wait till we do it on the show. And even in the first episode, and I know for a fact, by the way, Dave is a humongous Batman fan. The same way I'm like, James Bond and Superman, and I got my guys. Batman is Dave's. He's always been a Batman fan as long as I've known him. So even when we did our first episode, and I mentioned this one as one of my stinkers for last year, and I made it just a quick comment about like, well, if this iteration wants to do a Batman that kills people, okay, I can go along with that. And I just heard Dave kind of groan, but didn't even comment, right? So really, we really have not sat down and talked about a lot of the aspects about this film. We referred to it incessantly about DC and their struggle to make good films and where they're going wrong and yada, yada, yada. But we really have not sat down and had this conversation.
This is the 5th time I've seen this movie. It's more painful each time I watch it. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we suffer for our art. We've been threatening this for a year, as Joe has explained. And as I explained about Joe previously 2 weeks ago, Joe is the huge Superman fan. A tremendous Superman fan. As much of a Superman fan to him, I am a Batman fan. And this movie hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. You know what? People can talk and laugh about the Adam West Batman all they want. He's still a better Bruce Wayne and Batman than the freaking portrayal was.
Well, let's get to it. Did you not like Ben Affleck as Batman?
Kind of.
Okay.
This is the dichotomy. I actually think he would make a really good older Batman, on the cusp of retiring and stuff like that. Like this, the Batman I wanted to see, when I first heard it was going to be Ben Affleck, a part of me was like, you know what? This is kind of cool. I want to see this. I want to see the Batman who, if you've ever seen, did you ever see the TV show Batman Beyond?
No, but I know where you're headed. Go ahead. I've seen parts of it, so go ahead.
The first episode of Batman Beyond has an older Batman going after a kidnapped victim, and he's got his new power suit and everything like that, which is helping him with his age and everything like that. And he's still rather spry, but still a little bit slower than he used to be. So much so that when he thinks he's got everything under control, everything goes to hell, he's getting the crap beat out of him, and in desperation, he picks up a gun and points it at a bad guy, and the bad guy flips out and runs. And Batman flips out and runs. It was the most horrific moment of a cartoon that I'd ever seen. Yeah. The first time I saw it, I'm sitting there and I'm watching it, it's like, well, I'm wondering where they're going with this, and when he picks up the gun, I went, oh! Just like that, watching it. Because that's how much the gun thing is important to the mythos of Batman. And a part of me was thinking to myself, if this is where they're going to go with it, that this is Ben Affleck, handing off to the Terry McGinnis or whatever the heck the situation may be, I was quite okay with that portrayal. But no, that was too much of me to be expecting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you, it's going to be weird talking about this film. Because it's been talked about to death. It really has, and I don't want to try to retread over too much familiar territory.
Isn't Movie Bob up to like a part 4 of talking about it?
His part 3 is coming up. Yeah, Movie Bob, who is absolutely genius. As we're recording this, he has put out his second part of his Why Is It So Bad? Or Is It Really That Bad? Which is his first ever, because he usually does a series called Is It Really That Good? About great films, and he talks about what makes them great. Are they really as great as we remember them, or is it just nostalgia or whatever? This time he broke down and did why is it really that bad? And he's dissected everything that is wrong with this film to the point where he's basically doing a Plinkett version where the video he's doing about the film is running longer than the film itself. Why don't we start out with a couple positives?
Excuse me.
You got any positives?
Gal Gadot really surprised me as Wonder Woman. I didn't have a lot of faith when I first heard the casting, and she kind of turned me around. Even with the limited character, she still managed to pull off, making me believe that she was Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I'll go as far as to say I think the film starts out pretty strong. The opening is good. The familiar retelling of Batman's parents getting shot in the alley. Again, we've seen it plenty. I understand that, and they probably could have done a Spider-Man Homecoming and just sort of assumed that we all know that and put it aside. However, I do think fell in.
They needed it. They needed it, Joe.
I do. I think they need. It did need to be part of this narrative because I do feel that there was something that they were working on. Remember when you were talking about last year? You were talking about Suicide Squad, and you said it got really frustrating because you felt that there was a good film in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was a very good film in here somewhere. There's a lot of things that they're doing in this film that are very interesting, very compelling, and because of certain missteps, they completely blow it. But there is underneath a narrative that is frankly exceptional, and I think the Batman part of it is what really should have been amazing, frankly. If you looked at this, if you look at this and understand that what they're going for is, like you said, the Batman from the show who pulls out a gun, and pretty much as soon as he pulled the gun out, he knew he's done. Like that was the kickoff of that series because he handed the reins off to somebody else. Like he knew once he pulled the gun, that's it, I'm done. Okay. I think that was the point of what they were going for here. The opening shot of him, the parents, again, we've seen it a million times. I've seen the pearls bouncing across the sidewalk many times already, but it was necessary to do. The part when he is the older Bruce Wayne and he is driving towards Metropolis and driving into the battlefield, I think that is still great. When you watch that, I think that is really good stuff. And I think it sets a tone for what's to come. Now, again, this is sort of a weird, the whole DC universe trying to amp up their crossovers and team-ups and to ultimately get to the Justice League. As an idea, this was okay, I think. I mean, if you're going to do a Batman and Superman team-up, why not do Batman fighting Superman? Okay. And I thought Batman's reasons were okay for wanting to beat up Superman. Not great, but okay. And if they followed this thing correctly, it could have worked. But for a great many reasons, it does not.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree with you here. I mean, as awesome as that looked, all I saw throughout that entire thing was, he knocked a car upside down. He hit it with his tow hitch from borrowed from Empire Strikes Back, and then he used a vehicle with two people in it as a battering frickin' ram to kill more people. He flew his Batmobile out of a building into a guy who was hanging out of the back of a truck. Oh, yes! Tell me how wonderful that is. How did you feel? How did you feel when Superman made his poopy face sounds? How did you feel? Huh? How did you feel?
Well, like I said, the beginning was good. Look, yeah, the beginning is good, and like I said, the problem is that they really did not give you any context. In fact, there's a tiny bit of context when you watch the extended version. The extended version, by the way, which is technically what we're covering, does fill in more blanks than the theatrical cut, which again just tells me that they really just cut out the wrong things because they're cutting out the answers to the questions that you have when you see the theatrical cut.
Yeah. I
mean, there was one shot where I guess it was Superman interviewing an older couple living in Gotham, and of course the guy says, "Oh, so, like Batman ain't what he was. He used to do this, but he's mad lately," or something or other, and it kind of puts that in context. See, the problem with the film is that it expects you to understand a lot about Batman already, yet it's going to show you a completely different Batman and tell you that forget everything you know. Here's Batman. Well, which is it? And basically what they're trying to do is to show you the over the hill Batman who is now, things have gone south for him. See, I mean, basically, I think the whole punchline of the film is that they show Batman as a child. Bruce Wayne is a child. His parents are murdered, and he's helpless to do anything. When he sees Superman coming in, destroying the whole city of Metropolis, basically, he once again is that helpless young child who can't do anything, and that's the anger and the helplessness is what he is not gonna put up with anymore, and he's gonna, that's what makes him go out and be a little more angry and go after Superman. And I think had they explained that better, or tried to, and again, they got a million different sort of subplots going on in the background, which don't make any sense at all, don't contribute to the overall story. If they just kept it to what they were shooting for, you could have had something here.
Yes, you could have. You absolutely. I apologize. I'm going to interrupt you right there because you're really pissing me off. Okay. Look, you're not incorrect. You're really not. It could have, the characterization could easily have evolved into something like this. But this is part of my problem with the movie. There is zero. The last Batman we got, he flew out over a frickin' ocean to let a nuclear bomb destroy himself rather than his city.
Right.
Never picked up a gun. Always fought with his hands, with his brains, and all that other stuff, and with people around him. That's the last Batman we got. That's the last shot we saw of him from Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises is a movie we will discuss in the future or another time. But my point is, there's Batman. There's your heroic Batman. So now, the next Batman we get, he's more curmudgeon than frickin' Alfred, and Alfred's like 20 years older than him.
Yeah.
You know, he's more get off my lawn than freaking Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino.
Get off my lawn.
And we have zero context as to why he is that way. I, of course, would be willing to accept a Batman that suddenly feels he has no choice but to take his assault against the insanity up a notch. But there was never a justification. Oh, we see a little bit of ha ha ha, the joke's on you in the Robin costume and glass and stuff like that. But that still doesn't explain it. You know, none of it. This was a movie that needed to be, you had a Superman movie, you should have had a Batman movie, and then you should have done this movie. Because between the two of those movies, we at least got, okay, maybe he's not the Superman we want, but at least we got the type of Superman he was when we got to this movie. We had no clue about Batman, and we had to learn about it as it went along while setting up a conflict, while having this autistic Asperger's jerk of a Lex Luthor or whatever the hell that was going on there. This mishmash of trying to weave all this together. Throw in Diana, throw in Doomsday, throw in this. Let's just throw everything in there. Throw in like 4 different comic book stories into one 2.5 hour bloated mess that just felt awful watching again.
Listen, if I sound like I'm an apologist for this film, trust me, there's a reason. The only reason is because we know that this is a steaming pile of garbage, and rather than just sit here for an hour and say, oh my God, this is terrible, I'm trying to sort of come up with what I think is the explanation as to how this even got made, or what anybody was thinking as this was coming together. But yeah, I completely agree with you that the final product is this hot pile of garbage, and it makes no sense. There is no logic. I mean, frankly, the part about Batman having a problem with Superman is the only thread in the story that I think you can even make some sense out of. That's the only one. The part with Superman having a problem with Batman, to me, is, it's just baffling. Absolutely baffling. That to me makes zero sense. First of all, if the movie's going to be so stupid as to tell me that Gotham City is adjacent to Metropolis, then why?
Oh, don't even get me started.
Then why is Gotham City run down and crime ridden when Superman lives right next door? So you would think anywhere within eye shot of Superman is pretty safe, but no. Apparently, Gotham City is right next door, is a complete slum, overrun with disgusting criminals and crime, and Batman has to clean it up. And Superman just has decided that at the limits, the city limits of Metropolis, you're on your own, folks. So that to me makes zero sense. So why Superman is over there caring about what Batman is doing, it does not make sense. Especially when we have a Superman who will kill somebody willy-nilly to save Lois, he's doing the same thing. Oh, he's mad at Superman, at Batman because he's got the brand thing now, and that's going to get them killed in prison. You just murdered somebody in Zimbabwe, Africa, or wherever they're supposed to be to rescue Lois. That made zero sense.
Joe, we never saw him actually kill the person. We just saw him at the speed of light or the speed of sound grab him, probably pulling his arm off of Lois, because he had a good firm grip on Lois in that scene, pulling his arm off Lois and just knocking him through a couple of walls. There's no showing that he actually killed him.
Walls, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the speed of light.
At the speed of light.
What crash test dummy?
Yeah, no.
Is going to make it through that. Yeah, that made
and the whole situation was fake anyway. It was all staged by frickin' Lex Luthor too.
Yeah, and apparently and Superman disappears, and apparently people all get murdered after he vanishes. So it's like, suddenly it's like, well, guess what? Now I got a problem with Superman. I don't understand why he's there. What, like, if you were just there to be Lois Lane's personal bodyguard, let us know now, and I'll stop bothering you to come rescue cats out of trees and everything else.
Well, I mean, you had the Flash pop up to say Lois is the key.
You're right.
You know, which never gets paid off. Well, kind of, sort of gets paid off. Although, you know, it gets paid off badly because obviously the world's greatest detective, when he gets a flashback of the Flash, you know, telling you that Lois is the key, when you bring Superman back to life, she's not the first person there for him to see. No. It's after he beats the crap out of everybody else.
Right.
Then he pulls her out.
They're plan,
she's
right,
plan
B.
No, she should have been plan A.
And incidentally, by the way, still in the context of this film, Batman has a nightmare about bug people, right? Bug people coming down to kill everybody, okay? And then he still proceeds to go off and kill the one person who can probably do something to save them from the bug people. Then after he kills Superman, then he says, there is an army coming, we need to gather a team. Well, okay, but you knew about that before you killed Superman, so you still went ahead with your plan to kill Superman. I mean, that made zero sense. Again, I totally agree. I wish I didn't even watch the Bob episode before this, but I mean, I just couldn't resist. But I mean, he really... I love his take on some of the key scenes in this film that really just completely destroy it. And one of his big ones, and I've said this for a long time now, was that stupid nightmare scene. Because, frankly, I remember when I saw that, I remember first of all, what a cheap way to make scenes that end up in the trailer. That you see the trailer, you see these scenes, and you're like, oh my God, I got to see what this is all about. Because I remember, even in the... They do the shot of him fighting against the guys who have the Superman S emblem on their jackets. I remember that from The Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
But the context is completely different. But I thought they were going to do something with that in this film. No, it's a dream sequence. Really? A dream sequence?
It was all a dream. It was all a dream. A horrible, horrible dream. Just like Bobby Ewing.
But it wasn't a dream. It was a place. And you were there.
Anyway, he has the nightmare with the flying bug people, and still goes ahead and kills Superman.
Parademons. They're called parademons. Goddammit.
Parademons.
Jesus.
Fine, parademons.
Yes. I mean, my God. Look. I'm not defending this movie in any way, shape, or form. For God's sakes, get the names right. No. It's just that whole sequence was. Like, you know what it felt like to me? It felt like to me like somebody said, you know what we need? We need something to get the fans on board. Let's throw this sequence in. It'll really get them to love us.
Of course, yeah.
Put the giant dark side symbol on the middle. Show the parademons and stuff like that. Fanboys will go freaking nuts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and frankly, it did put the asses in the seats. I mean, people went to see this film. I mean, it made money. It did well. But frankly, I think that's also why Justice League had the lowest first weekend box office of any of the DC films, because I think everyone was just they've been bitten how many times now by these films. They know what they're in for, and they're fatigued. They're done. That's it. I can't do it again. I mean, this Batman v Superman was so dismal and miserable. They're like, you know what? I don't need to rush out and go see that. So that's why Justice League made no money.
Now, as Batman and Superman fans, why the hell are we being so hard on this movie compared to the elation we had with the trailer, with the Infinity War trailer? Why are we doing that? There is no This is the thing that bothers me to no end. It's like, why are you so embarrassed to be just, why can't you just be a superhero movie?
Yeah,
why?
exactly.
What is wrong with that? What is wrong with just being a superhero movie? No, we have to have death. We have to, deconstruct the mythos of superheroes and so on. No, you don't.
No.
You don't have to do that. And hey, here's the thing. You could, but you still need to make sure that they're superheroes. You deconstructed the entire setup of Captain America with the Winter Soldier, and you still kept the damn character correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is a film done by people who are embarrassed to be doing superhero films. I mean, but even still, it's like, even if that's the case, that's not even the well, I'll tell you what.
What do you mean not? It's one of many problems, but please continue.
If these were likable characters, we'd probably be willing to kind of ignore a lot of the stupidity about the film. But even then, like, there's so many dumb parts.
Only by working together can we
Here's a question. I'm sure you know the answer to this by now. Mm-hmm. Who blew up Congress?
Oh, that was Lex Luthor.
No, it was not.
Wait, what?
This is what again, I keep
Dude, I've seen this movie like 5 times. He of course he blew up Congress. Who else do you think did it?
The guy in the wheel. I thought I walked out thinking Lex Luthor set up the entire thing, okay?
Which he did.
All right, but then what is with the notes with the guy sending back the checks saying Batman's getting the checks back with the guy writing the notes on it saying Bruce Wayne is a fool. Bruce Wayne killed his family, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And Bruce Wayne is looking at these going, oh my God, something bad's going to happen. And then the bomb goes off.
Okay, this is what you're missing. Okay, you ready for this? Ladies and gentlemen, if anybody has ever been confused, this is how crap this movie is. Wait till you hear this one. Okay? Of course Lex Luthor blew up the thing. He gave him the wheelchair that had the bomb in it. Remember? Number 1. Number 2, the notes. The reason why this guy was disgruntled was because the payments that Bruce Wayne was Bruce Wayne was sending him to take care of himself was being intercepted by Lex and sent back to Bruce Wayne with the notes written all over them. He did that to make that guy disgruntled so that he can get him to do what he did.
Wait. All right, so you think Lex Luthor is sending the checks back with the notes?
Bingo! That's what he did. He's also the one that sent Superman the newspaper article about the branding bat that kills people. That was all Lex, dude.
Okay. Look, all right. I guess that makes sense. I mean, I walked out. I mean, you see Lex Luthor give the guy the wheelchair. I assumed Lex Luthor did it. I mean, the jar of piss is sitting there. But then I get to the
why wouldn't, if Lex didn't know the bomb was going to be there, why would he have left the jar of piss? Why did he walk out of the place and leave poor Mercy Graves to die? Because he knew. Because he was the bomber.
Uh-huh.
You know, if you're gonna threaten a congressional woman, especially one who seemingly as powerful as the Holly Hunter character,
right.
You don't leave a jar of piss on the thing thinking, hee, oh boy, I'm just so silly and stuff like that. No, you do it because nobody's gonna find the goddamn jar of piss once it's blown up.
Right? Yeah, of course. No, I agree with that. But again, well, all right. Which is gonna lead me to the inevitable question: why does Lex Luthor bomb Congress?
He does that because I don't know. I mean,
again, this is another
was ridiculous.
Another dark, miserable part of this movie. Again, like they blow up the whole, and why? I mean, they show Superman standing there feeling like a knucklehead. Like, I mean, the shot of him standing there in the fiery wreck before he even moves is like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, all right, what is he thinking, right? Like, what is Superman standing there thinking? Like, oh, that sucked. He just kind of had this, like, look on his face. I don't know. It was really weird. But, like, again, I'm saying to myself, what does this contribute to anything? Like, there's so much junk thrown into this film, and it's like, but how does it lead to the overall point? I mean, again, Bruce Wayne now thinks the guy in the wheelchair blew up Congress, right?
Right.
So again, now Bruce Wayne doesn't even think Superman did it. So how does that help Lex Luthor get Batman to want to kill Superman? I don't understand that. And I guess I understand that people are already like, you know, Superman is a figure of controversy. Some love him, some hate him. Not sure why they hate him, but whatever. But then after this, then you see people actually holding up the Superman dummies and lighting them on fire. Like, okay, now we really don't like Superman even more. But again, even the haters, what do they think? Did they think Superman went in there specifically to blow up Congress and then leave? Superman is the one person who does not need to blow people up with a bomb.
Nope, you could just, they demonstrated that during the Bat Nightmare sequence. They could just go, bzz, bzz,
Right.
dead, gone.
Seriously.
Like out of freaking Mars Attacks there.
You're right. So again, so that whole scene, that whole entire thing makes zero sense. It was just nothing more than just fluff jammed in there to fill up time. And for a film that is this long, why are you jamming things in there to fill up time? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, Holly Hunter's whole character doesn't really do anything in this film. There's a couple.
And I was about to say, and it's a shame because she tries. She obviously, a lot of the actors in this movie, kind of give their all when it comes to this movie. But for what? I mean, the character, the guy in the wheelchair character, he was supposed to be the disgruntled employee from Wayne. He was supposed to be the Coulson, maybe the connective tissue between Superman, the man who got injured by Superman, technically speaking, and who worked for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And now he's mad because he's out of work. He can't walk. He's lost his family. He's angry at the person that did this to him, so he lashes out at Superman by doing the graffiti. And then, I don't know. It's like, people complain about Zemo's plan in Civil War, but like, if you could sit there and pick it apart and be like, you know what? But Zemo's plan had a logic to it, and it wasn't like, he didn't initially intend to go the way that he did. He had a whole other plan that depended upon getting information from people, and when that didn't work, Plan B was blow up people. And but it made sense in that context.
Yeah.
A movement had started that he could capitalize to try and bring down the Avengers. This is just nonsense. This is, it's almost, I almost feel bad for the movie coming out the same year as Civil War, because the comparisons are very easy to make. And Batman v Superman should have basically said, get out of the way, kid, we'll show you how it's done, to Civil War. And Civil War instead said to them, let the new kids try.
Yeah, agreed.
It's terrible. It's harsh. His plan makes no sense. There's no logic to his plan. There's no like if his plan became a thing where he was like, oh, this guy's mad at Superman, I can use that to my advantage, and let me see what I can do. Getting rid of his problem with Congress that won't let him ship the kryptonite in, at the same time as making Superman look bad because this guy was obviously so stressed out that he blew himself up. But then that doesn't explain how he's been stealing the guy's money all those years and sending the notes to Bruce Wayne to piss him off even more.
None of it makes any sense. I mean, like, first of all, again, even the part like you and I are already sort of in stage 2 of the discussion about why, when we haven't even really talked about stage 1, which is why Luthor even has such a big problem with Superman at all. And
because the bill cannot be unwrung.
The bill cannot be unwrung. He's hungry. He's found us. And he's coming.
I mean, this whole nonsense about gods and this and that and the other thing. I mean, it's like just a whole lot of nonsense about nothing. But again, just to make the two of them fight. And okay, and then we get to later on when Batman is trying to steal the kryptonite, right? Well, Lex's guys are already taking the kryptonite, I guess, from the boatyard to Lex's headquarters, okay? And then Batman goes to take it. Why not let him take it? If you want him to have it anyway. If I'm understanding that right. He wants Batman to have the kryptonite so he can build weapons out of it to fight Superman. Well, hand it over. Why is that big shootout happening? Why is Batman driving the car into people's faces?
Yeah, especially if you know who Batman is, for God's sakes. It's just
if he's manipulating all this from the get-go, then why? And then of course later, Batman breaks into LexCorp, steals the kryptonite anyway, and leaves his calling card where the kryptonite was. What is that about? Why do you leave a calling card saying, "Hi, I'm taking this. I'll have it back before midnight. Sorry," or like, what's the point of that?
We'll call if we'll be late.
We'll bring it back with a full tank.
Here's the prevailing theory. The prevailing theory is that he knows about Darkseid. He knows about Darkseid coming. Yeah, Luthor knows about Darkseid coming. and he wanted to take Superman out of the equation. But again, we're still missing his motivation, because Superman being out of the equation means that, in this case, Steppenwolf, because in the extended edition, they actually show him communicating, seeing a visual aid of Steppenwolf or something or other. Not 100% sure what that was supposed to be, but whatever it was, supposedly people are saying, well, that's the reason why, because it's okay. But why? Why is he allowing Darkseid to take over the world? Does he think that Darkseid's just going to be like, gee, thanks, Luthor, for taking care of that Kryptonian.
Right.
You're my best pal. What is this, the Saturday morning Super Friends?
Well, it works in Superman too.
But it still has no motivation. There was no motivation for Batman to be a murdering prick. And if you want to bleep that, go right ahead. There's no motivation for Luthor to decide that Batman and Superman both have to go, or just Superman has to go, especially if he does know that Darkseid is coming, because it's nothing. It's Saturday morning cartoon done badly. That's really what it is. I half expected him to put on his freaking green and purple outfit.
Banded together from remote galaxies are 13 of the most sinister villains of all time, the Legion of Doom. Dedicated to a single objective, the conquest of the universe. Only one group dares to challenge this intergalactic threat, the Super Friends.
There was this one episode of Challenge of the Super Friends where I have found out the secret to Wonder Woman, Superman, and Green Lantern, how they came to be. We're going to go back in time and we're going to change that. It's like, what a ridiculous Saturday morning plot, but damn it, that made more sense.
Right. Yeah, I don't get it. What is Lex Luthor, does he think Darkseid is such a cool guy that if he leaves the Earth completely undefended, that life will be so much better when Darkseid I don't know. Again, it's funny. They keep talking about the Marvel bad guys not being very great. The DC bad guys, what the heck? Again, we've had General Zod wants to turn Earth into Krypton. Okay. Steppenwolf wants to turn Earth into Steppenwolf land, whatever. Lex Luthor wants to take out Batman and Superman so that when Darkseid comes and he turns everything into Darkseid land, everything will be great. I don't know. I mean, I don't understand the motivation of anybody in this whole at all. I mean, with the exception of General Zod, who I said I kind of understood his motivation almost too much. I couldn't tell you one single thing about this incarnation of Lex Luthor that makes the slightest bit of sense. Not one single area of what he does makes any sense to me. Because again, we haven't even gotten to the into the what the hell's his name? The Doomsday part. Because again, even after all this, then he just goes to the ship and takes General Zod's body. Here's some blood. Here's this. Here's that. And I'm gonna build Doomsday out of you. And he's gonna destroy the whole planet, basically, because he's gonna get bigger and bigger. He's gonna kill Superman and then Batman and Wonder Woman, and the whole Earth is gonna just be destroyed. And isn't that fun? I don't get it. I do not understand it. I especially for a guy like Lex Luthor who has everything. In the last film, they show the cut scene or the after credit scene of him sitting on his yacht. Well, your yacht ain't gonna be there no more if Doomsday destroys the world, okay? If Darkseid comes and destroys the world, where's your yacht gonna be? You're not gonna have it, because we're gonna live in this weird Steppenwolf world.
It's time you learn what it means to be a man.
Stay down! If I wanted it, you'd be dead already.
If man won't kill God,
the devil will do it.
What have you done?
Well, Joe, we've gotten to the point where we have to give this thing a rating. There's a lot more. There is so much more. We could talk about the fact that how did he even know anything about these creatures from outer space, because he didn't even get access to Superman's ship until halfway through the movie. We could talk about the fact that there's no story or explanation as to what happened to Wayne Manor, the fact that they sent an email to introduce us to the rest of the damn Justice League. We could go on and on and on, but instead, we're running out of time. We probably spent much more time on the Infinity War trailer than we meant to and Stranger Things, but please, Joe, out of 10, what do you got?
I'm gonna give this one, it a 3. Even that I think is probably pretty generous. I think it's. I mean, it is a god awful film. I mean, just to go back to what I've said in the past, though, I think I've even said that this one was better than Man of Steel, only because I thought it had more eye candy. As bad as it is, as frustrating as it is, as perplexing and baffling as it is, it's got some interesting scenes, some interesting ideas that if they had been explored correctly, could have been something. So I'm going to give it a 3 just because I think deep down there were some things that could have worked.
Well, aren't you freaking magnanimous? I gave it a 2.
Okay, well, we're not that far off. I was debating between a 2 and a 3.
I couldn't. I just, it was painful to watch. It was painful to watch again. I felt like, when I first saw Batman Begins, okay, when I saw Batman Begins, and when the end came up, and they flipped over the card, and there was the Joker and everything like that, and Batman ended, and you never will, and he flew off into the night, and the screen went to black, and Christopher Nolan's name come up on the screen, I cried. I cried, because I said to myself, somebody gets Batman. I cried at the end of this movie, crocodile tears, for much different reasons. Because somebody still doesn't get Batman. Frickin' Adam West gets Batman better. The guys on how it should have ended get Batman better.
It's because I'm Batman.
The frickin' robot chicken gets Batman better.
Lego Batman gets it better.
Who has the coolest gadgets? Who has the tricked out ride? Who does the sickest backflips? Batman!
Damn it, right. The frickin' I Am the Batman song is 10 times more Batman than this Batman.
Who never misses leg day?
Batman! Who always pays his taxes? Not Batman.
All right, my friend. So I guess that leaves us with our Who Asked You?
You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
It's very simple. I've beaten it to death. Batman killing people is wrong, 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 wrong. You better... You have Batman putting a gun in his hand, you better frickin' justify it. You have Batman mowing down people like nobody's business, you better justify it. Now, granted, that big fight scene at the end that he did, taking on all those people, that was as close to Batman as you've ever gotten in your life. Straight out of the Arkham Asylum video game series, but still closest to the Batman. But Batman killing people? No, not ever. You better justify. I am willing to let you say Batman has killed people, but you better justify the action.
I'll give you that. I almost feel like that's what I've been waiting a whole year to hear you say. Because like I said at the beginning, we've talked about it and around it, never actually gotten to the heart of a lot of the issues, and I knew that was one that was going to bug you to your core.
Oh, like nobody's business. Ugh. How about you, Joe? Who asked you?
This one will surprise you. My Who Asked You? Wonder Woman.
Really?
I don't think...
You're right. I color me surprised.
Now, don't get me wrong. Wonder Woman, for all practical purposes, is kind of the MVP of this film. She was a glimmer of something good in a pile of a hot mess, but honestly, she doesn't belong in this film. This story is supposed to be about Batman and Superman. Wonder Woman is really not there for any purpose that lends itself to the overall arc of the story. And I think the big problem with the DC EU as it is that they, as we've said multiple times in the past, is that they're in a rush to catch up with Marvel. So they're jamming things into their stories to try to do everything in half the amount of time that it took Marvel to do. And had you slowed it down a little bit and maybe just let this one be about the introduction of, the supposed DC cinematic universe started out with Man of Steel. Now you have Man of Steel and Batman, okay? Save Wonder Woman for the next one. Do the individual movies with the, let everybody do some individual movies and then do Justice League. But they're in such a rush that they jam things in here that don't work. And really, when I say Wonder Woman, it's not so much that, of all the elements in this film you could have taken out, so many things that I said, it's bogged down with so much junk that it takes 3 whole hours just to get answers and some resolution to some of the questions that come up in this film. There's a lot that could have come out. Wonder Woman is more symptomatic of the bigger problem. So as nice as it was to have her in here and be kind of a breath of fresh air at times, still, didn't contribute anything to the overall story.
All right, I get that. I'll allow that. I think that's actually quite fair. I don't think it was very fair of them to introduce her this early either. I agree.
On the other hand, for your consideration,
the only thing in this movie, even though you're 100% correct, there was no reason to jam it in, and the Nostalgia Critic actually had one of my favorite little takes on her appearance. If you ever watched Nostalgia Critic's review of Batman v Superman, he basically has the actress that he has in his lineup, just kind of walk by in a Wonder Woman costume saying hello and walk off screen.
Right.
Okay. That aside, this to me is even more impressive. The fact that out of this entire, I mean, granted, when you have an entire shit show going on, it's easy to find that one shining point. The fact that you have this character that was jammed in relatively last minute, and yet still the actress managed to make an impression enough that it drove her box office for her movie 100%. Gal Gadot. I'm giving her full credit that with the limited shit that they gave her, she still managed to make it into a diamond. She was beautiful and, demure. And then when the time came for her to kick ass, god damn it. And I was complaining. I used to complain about it. I was like, there's no way that she's going to fill out that role. And then she did. And I was like, okay, I got to give it up to her. She did.
Yeah. I as much as you're contradicting what I'm saying, I totally agree with you. I think she is, like I said, she was the shining star in an otherwise miserable experience. And I thought she was absolutely fantastic in the solo Wonder Woman film. I think she is a great. I mean, I feel like it's taken us decades to get any kind of Wonder Woman on the screen at all, because we had the Linda Carter, who was so iconic that I don't think anybody was ever willing to try to replace her. I think Gal Gadot does a magnificent job. She's got a sparkling presence. Acting, I don't know. There was actually one. I saw Justice League again this weekend, and
oh, that's right.
There was one line that she says, which I think is gonna kind of like as more people see it again when it comes on Blu-ray. It's so bad, I think it's gonna turn into like a meme or something. It's her and Batman going back and forth, and there's like a line where she goes like, "What? Because of your guilt?" And she like what? Because of your guilt? Heavy sigh, and like she shrugs her shoulders, whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't notice that, whatever.
I blame the director. I blame the director more than her, because she can obviously I know the scene you're talking about, and I remember slapping my own forehead at that point.
Yeah. I remember it was really kind of bad. In fact, there was a lot of that was sort of jammed into Justice League, because I thought, and I couldn't tell if that was the reshoots trying to put some personal tension in there, or if this was Snyder's doing. But I mean, there was that, and then there was I thought the line when Bruce goes, he's like, "Why? Because of Steve Trevor?" And of course she gets so upset she shoves him away, whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, too soon? It's only been 100 years."
Well, what about for your consideration, smartass?
Okay, for your consideration, and I'm sure you were gonna roll your eyes and just be nauseated with my attempt to try to breathe some life or some semblance of mercy into this thing. I think the arc that they were trying to do with Batman would have worked splendidly had it gotten out of its own way and just told the story it should have told, okay? Again, this was not this was not Superman's story. We know who Superman is because this is our second film with him. In this universe, this is our introduction to Batman, and it is our introduction to the aging, over-the-hill Batman, okay? And again, here's, like I said, do they do it right? Do they do it well? No. However, the arc of the aging Batman, okay, he's already been through the ringer. Robin is already dead and gone. We know this, and he's seen it all. When he was a child, he felt like a helpless little child watching his parents get killed. He couldn't do a thing about it, and he vowed his entire life he would never feel that way again, and he will make criminals feel fear or whatever, okay? Superman has entered into his life, okay? And there is Batman looking up, feeling like a helpless child all over again, okay? So the reignited mission that he has to not feel that way. He bulks up, builds the things, and gets ready. He's not going to let himself feel that way again. And I feel that was the whole point of this film, really. That is totally washed over and covered up. To the point where if they did not completely kerfluffed the whole thing with that Martha line, okay? If you just allowed that scene to play out, where Batman is holding the spear, ready to murder this man, okay? That's the moment where, and I got it, Movie Bob said it before me, so I got it. That was the moment where Bruce Wayne realizes he is now behind the gun that killed his parents, okay? He has become the very thing that he's been fighting his whole life against. That was the point, I think, of this film. Had they not blown it royally, but you can see it playing out in the film, and I think had they had the strength and the foresight to just go with that vision, you really would have had something pretty special here. I think even a Batman fanatic like yourself would have loved this idea had they allowed it to play out and to show you this is why you're getting a lunatic Batman that kills people. This is why you're getting like we know that this is Batman in a dark place. And had that been allowed to flourish, we would have had something kind of interesting. Instead, they completely dropped the ball, and we got what we got.
And you know what, dude? I even said it earlier. I agree with you. Had they justified getting Batman to that point, I would have been along for the ride. I absolutely would have, but they didn't.
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's a great idea. There's nothing wrong with the idea. And honestly, as much as people make fun of the Martha, why did you say that name thing? There's actually kind of a brilliance in trying to humanize Superman in Batman's eyes by using the same name that his mother had. And that's fine. It just was done terribly.
Agreed. And I remember even when the film came out and everybody was walking out like laughing, Martha, what a stupid... I felt back then, I said, well, that's the one thing that really actually doesn't bother me, because I knew what they were trying to go for there, and the fact that they do have the same name is kind of like Bob said, it's like in some writing meeting, somebody threw out the little bit of trivia. Do you know that they both have the same names of their parents? Oh, well, that's how we do this. That's the breaking point when we can use that. Well, it's not strong enough to. I mean, again, you're talking about now. Batman is 2 inches away from murdering this man. Now he's going to drop it and be his bestest pal. No. I mean, again, you could have had him just put it down and walk away or something. Again, now they're best buddies. Don't worry. Martha's not going to die tonight because I'm going to go rescue her because I'm Batman. That's what I do. And still mishandled.
Not to mention the complete stupid way he says it. Save Martha! Why didn't you just say, save my mother?
Right.
Wouldn't most people in a situation like that say, save my mother?
Yeah, right. And again, it's like, it's a very typical movie trope where had we just had a discussion about this, we could have saved ourselves a lot of aggravation. And I know that they tried to play it like Superman comes down, Bruce, you gotta listen to me because, and he doesn't let him speak or something or other. Come on, you could have gotten the words out. You could have said... Here's what's going on. Lex Luthor is manipulating this whole situation.
A 1978 episode of Three's Company got the miscommunication stuff better than a frickin' Superman movie.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that.
Right. And by the way, it's dark and dour and miserable too.
You know you can't win this. It's suicide.
The greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. Son of Krypton versus Bat of Gotham.
You're psychotic.
That is a 3-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
It's time you learn what it means to be a man.
Stay down! If I wanted it, you'd be dead already.
I feel like all this stuff we've been talking about, we also just forgot to mention, oh yeah, it's dark and dour and miserable.
Yeah. And speaking of dark and dour and miserable, that's what we're going to be feeling when we review next week's movie.
Oh, and I almost forgot to.
It's not quite as dark. It's not quite as dark, but yes, we're going to finish off the DC Cinematic Universe with the highest grossing movie of all the DCU movies, Suicide Squad.
Thank all the kids that shop at Hot Topic for making this one the most successful out of this stink pile.
Yes. Thank those kids. Thank all those kids.
I you know what? I forgot that we still had this one left. I thought we were finally finishing up the DCEU tonight with this one, but no.
Nope. And I even have it up on your list, so you can't make an excuse for not watching it.
Thank you, I guess.
You are so welcome. I have to endure this too. And And this is going to be my third time watching it. Liam watched it twice.
Yeah, okay, well.
So yes, next week we will do the wonderful, the exciting, the fantastic Suicide Squad.
I guess this makes something like a Suicide Squad or something.
But you know what? The hits are going to keep on coming because the week after we have Star Wars The Force Awakens. And I think that's going to be a more interesting show.
Yeah, that'll be a fun discussion. I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah.
I feel like that's another one that you and I have not full-blown had a full conversation about that we've been saving for the show, so I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Me too. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to say goodnight to you and to my good friend Joe.
Save Martha! See you next week!
Thanks for listening to the Reviews Without Remorse podcast with Joe and Dave. Join us here every Thursday for a new episode. And be sure to check out the Reviews Without Remorse channel on YouTube and VidMe for spoiler-free reviews of new releases, as well as in-depth discussions of current and classic cinema. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider becoming a patron. You can find our page at patreon.com. As little as $1 a month goes a long way. All clips in this podcast are used for commentary and critique, and is considered fair use. No copyright infringement is intended.